Hey, this is Michael Lindsay from Vital MX, and I am back to bring you guys another first look on a all-new motorcycle, and actually a all-new motorcycle brand that is hitting the market. And yeah, that the title on this video is not meant to be too much of a clickbait. A lot of those little statements are true. There is a brand that is releasing an electric motocross bike that is full-sized, that produces more reported horsepower than any current production 450 on the market, is within weight reason of one of those bikes, a little bit heavier than a KTM Husky or Gas, but as light, if not just a tick lighter, than all the Japanese 450 offerings on the market. It can run within a similar time span of a 450, if not a bit longer, depending on riding. And yeah, it's going to be available within the next year. So uniquely, just within the last 2 weeks, we got reached out to by this new company, Stark Future. Yes, I know, you're all thinking the same thing. Probably I am. Stark. You're thinking Tony Stark, Iron Man, motorcycles, electric, high-tech. Yeah, I was right about there with you. Genuinely a bit shocked when we got to sit down with some of the crew behind it and just get to listen to more about what they've been working on for over the past 2 years. So, like I said, a lot of you probably have not heard of this company. It is new. There was, up until probably this video launches, they don't have a public listing website, which is supposed to launch right at the time I release this. So I was a little bit confused at what we were dealing with, but the new model, the first model that they're releasing, is called the Stark Varg, and I may be pronouncing that wrong. I hope not. It's Swedish for strong wolf. The brand has, through the ownership, a bit of Swedish background, but is actually been developed and is being built in Spain. But let's give you some stats here. I've been talking a little bit about this background here for a second, but yeah, this bike is creating about 80 horsepower. Yeah, let that sink in for a minute. I think the term they use is it's equivalent to what probably a 650 four-stroke would be. The bike comes weighing in at 242 pounds, and the operation time, depending on the rider, can be anywhere from 6 hours to around an hour with a top-level pro aboard. Basically, the goal is, even at minimum with the gnarliest dudes on it, should be able to go the full length that a 450 would on a gallon of gas. And the recharge rate is within 1 to 2 hours, depending on a couple multiple conditions here. So yeah, just right off the bat, the things that struck me as unique when they started throwing out these statistics are, I'm somebody that had a bit of experience with electric motorcycles, getting to ride like KTM Freeride, the Zero, and then what most people would probably be up until this point considered the greatest electric dirt bike that existed was the Alta. But the Alta, was a bit heavy. I think it was in the mid 270s, low 270s, produced like 48 to 50-ish horsepower around, what they compared to being a 350. And I think the last one I rode, the MXR, I drained the battery on it in 21 minutes on like a vet motocross track. So yeah, I was thinking the next time we would see one of, the next bike to take up the top electric mantle would be better at something. It would either make more power, it would be lighter, or it would last longer. But considering, I'm thinking about this as, in my personal opinion, about 4 or 5 years earlier, and I expected to see all of those wrapped into one package. The company itself, Stark Future, like I said, was established in very early 2019 with this end goal of basically bringing an electric motorcycle to the market, or electric dirt bike, that was not just acceptable, but in a sense completely competitive, if not more competitive than anything it would be up against. The brand itself states its main ambitions are to design, develop, and manufacture cutting-edge electric motorcycles to push the boundaries of performance and set new standards for sustainability within this industry. So, other than the facts of what their goal and passion is behind creating this electric motorcycle, they have quite a few goals relating to sustainability. Basically, a very green initiative with the brand, and kind of what their vision is for the future of basically being able to operate and ride motorcycles. The two main founders are Anton Wass and Paul Saucy. I apologize on probably the bad pronunciation there. Personally got to speak with Anton the other day when we were introduced to the motorcycle. He has a long time background in the power sports industry, having been involved in co-founding, I think, prior one of the largest like e-commerce websites, and stepping away basically to take on this passion project and create this motorcycle. So being that I had a bit of, background going to a couple of the Alta events and being around a few of these motorcycles, I wouldn't say I'm super well versed in the electric motor market, the bikes. I just have my experiences. So personally, a lot of our comparisons in our conversations were made with the Alta. First things was, how is this bike so much lighter, and how is it producing or, having a longer run time were my two main questions. The actual power output didn't really surprise me, but it was the weight and the run time that got to me. They said a main factor in the weight was just doing everything they could, engineering-wise, designing, identifying how light they can make the chassis. They do claim this is the lightest full-size off-road bike chassis it's ever been produced. And then the actual battery pack itself, instead of being a casing with all these little individual cells in like holders and receivers inside, apparently this fin-shaped, box of a casing, when opened up, all the battery cells are connected right into the casing. This maximizes the actual space inside this the battery containment. Basically, got more battery in there, to put it bluntly. And then with it connected directly into the casing without really, it sounds like a lot of receiver area between these cells. The cooling factor is better. There is no need for any sort of liquid cooling. It is all air-based. And, of course, in hearing that, my next main question to him is, look, like I said, I've experienced with the Alta. What's going to be is there going to be a thermal impact with this bike? What's the chance of it overheating and basically going into limp mode? Because riding the Alta within a couple laps on some decent loam, the thing was coming to a little bit of a crawl at times. A lot of their main testing has been done with MXGP and US Supercross and Motocross racer Sebastian Tortelli. They've had a host of other current level MXGP riders test the bike. Josh Hill has recently tested, who's definitely an electric ambassador, spent a lot of time with the Alta and doing Red Bull Straight Rhythm and lots of other things I didn't ever expect to see on a electric bike done so early. And they verbally are telling us like, hey, we're not running into these problems. We've basically, in a sense, solved it. We're able to test full length motos on deep tracks without any sort of thermal issues, without any limp mode kicking in, basically able to operate at full power the whole time, which to me was just very impressive to hear. Again, all these are, being thrown out as facts, but with this launch video, the photos, the guys are riding the bike. 2 years sounds like a short development cycle, but I think it's a testament to how far this technology is coming. They also kind of hired some of the right people in there. It is a small staff, but some of the engineers and their backgrounds that I saw in the portfolio they showed us was, hey, we've got, one or two guys here that have experience from Alta, one or two guys from KTM from some of their electric powertrain developments they've done. The controller, I guess you would call it, the controller unit, basically kind of modifies the power coming out of the motor. Some of these components are coming from an ex-supplier that was involved with Alta that Stark has purchased and renamed. It now belongs to them. But, still, it's I don't want it to sound too much like, oh, it's just, they bought Alta stuff and made it better, right? There's a few things, yes, but from the most part, there's a few major parts with this. They really started from the ground up. Like I said, their own chassis, swing arm. All the suspension components are from KYB. They're full length at 310 millimeters. They're basically based off the measurements of Yamaha units. But KYB's gone out and done their own testing with these guys. The linkage is very close to the current Honda 450 design. It's their own design, though. The swing arm does look close to a KTM unit, but it's their own design. wheel sets, triple clamp, zero design, just a lot of really unique components. For me, the bike is visually striking. I do love, of course, it is simplistic, being that it doesn't have most of the components we see on a current motocross bike, but at the same time, they've, in my opinion, have kept the seat profile, the plastic mini items on the bike as somebody that's, got plenty of time on bikes and experience in that feel, looking for a specific feel. The bike doesn't look like they've tried to reinvent how it looks too much. It seems like all the contact points should be really similar. They've laser scanned every single major motocross model available to start their basis of, what was going to be their geometry, their geometry points on their bike, their linkages, their wheelbase, their rider triangle to come up with what they made. They didn't just, throw some numbers at it and go for it. They put in a lot of research and time into this. I think one of the, instant things is, of course, the 80 horsepower sounds little on the outrageous side. For those wondering, of course, what's it going to be like to ride? I mean, the bright side is the bike is going to be very, have a ton of course, the bike's going to have a ton of ability to modify and tailor it to your needs. There is a smartphone, literally, it's actually an Android smartphone sitting in the bar pad in a dash that's removable, but in this, you're going to be able to go through and modify the power character, basically tuning it anywhere from what's equivalent to like a 125 two-stroke, 250, 350, like just basically be able to taper how much power is being given to you. You can also change traction control settings within it. You can change the amount of engine braking you're feeling, the amount of gyroscopic flywheel feel you're feeling in the air, and really be able to tweak this bike for what you need. So you want to trail ride it, cruise it around. They're claiming this thing could last up to 6 hours on the trail. And like I said, a full moto at MXGP or Pro Motocross pace from one charge. As the usual with electric bikes, we're talking about a very low maintenance concept. Right now, they're looking at a price, I think Euro, they said it was going to be around 11,900 was launched, which US price based on just straight conversion would put it at 13,400 or so. So, one our statistic, I mean, it is, yes, it's stout, but when we have some current 450s that are breaking into the 10 grand range and some of these works and special editions in this $12,000-$13,000 range, it's not out there, especially with some of the lack of maintenance with it. Personally, we've been told that we should be able to experience this bike. When I say we, I mean the media, possibly by as early as this next March, be able to actually go swing a leg over it and test it, with their goal as they're ramping up into production, getting ready to start production right now in a facility in Barcelona. 2 of them, one more for the assembly of the actual motorcycle and then the other for the battery pack itself. Late third quarter, early fourth quarter of 2022, around that September, October-ish time, there is going to be the ability to actually go buy one of these motorcycles for yourself based off their current estimates and goals. Talking about a few of the details of the bike. So the battery pack, 6 kilowatts of capacity at less than 32 kilograms of weight at 80 horsepower. They're, I'm saying it's around 30 to 32% more powerful than any current 450 on the market, with around double the amount of torque of those motorcycles as well. Of course, as we talked about, the honeycomb casing to the battery pack, having basically the cells directly connected to the casing for better cooling, taking away the need of any type of water or vapor cooling, helping keep the weight of this motorcycle down. KYB suspension has been tested and set up for this bike specifically by Technical Touch in Europe. And they're also claiming that this bike can be set up on 7 different stock settings depending on the size and bulk of the rider. Now, of course, I don't know if that means stock clicker settings they're talking about adjusting, but I'm guessing by the wording is you may actually be able to order this with a little bit different spring rate or some sort of setting change depending on your, weight and personal needs. Other than that, the bike comes with good high-end wheel set, Pirelli MX32 tires, There's also a really cool chain adjuster click system. Basically, you just need one tool, and I believe it said for every, like half a quarter turn, it basically clicks, and that's a millimeter of adjustment. So you can do that on each side instead of having to measure, just same amount of clicks each side, and you're good to go. And the other cool one they mentioned is they actually built a specific foot peg for this motorcycle. It's cast from a special stainless steel alloy that is 40% stronger than titanium or chromoly steel, and because of that, they were able to make it thin enough that it is lighter than any motocross foot peg on the market. They even said so light that it's lighter than like an aftermarket Raptor foot peg or any of the trick little goodies we're looking for. They also mentioned that the installation process is so simple there's no locking pin. Personally, I haven't seen the photo of what that looks like yet, but kind of curious to see what that ends up being. Like I said, their main test rider has been Sebastian Tortelli. Just a quick comment from him that's within their press info they sent over. Suspension-wise, chassis-wise, I immediately felt at home. This is a real motocross bike. I did have to learn through the development about the electric power, and I was surprised how fast I adapted and how fun it is to ride. We have done quite a lot of development and work already. The chassis is balanced as well as nimble. The lightweight means you can really move around it with ease and attack the jumps and sections. I feel awesome on the track and can race with this bike, and this is what we were aiming for. It's an amazing experience to ride in silence. You can hear the way the bike picks up traction, the impact on the stones and the jumps. It's just really an amazing sensation. So, like I said, it's to me a little bit of a shock to see this thing. There's plenty to think about, plenty to talk about. If you have thoughts about this bikes, if you have questions, please throw them in the comments section below. I can dig through what else my notes and see if I can answer some of them. If not, we can always reach out to the guys at Stark Future and try to answer some of these questions. I know they want to, of course, educate and help everybody out there that maybe is interested in their bike or wants to learn more about it, get the answers they're looking for. And honestly, like I said, I'm really curious. Is anybody else watching this as shocked as I am when you hear the numbers? Throw in the comment section below, like what stands out to you the most. Do you believe it's real? Did you believe electric bikes would get to this point this quick if all these claims end up being true? And always, if you enjoy this channel, hit subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and stay tuned for more great content.